So welcome everybody, welcome to this year's AGM. We're holding this virtually to make life easier, to make more members able to engage with us in this important milestone in the year. So just note that we will be recording the session, so if you could keep your microphones on mute during the presentations. We'll have a number of points throughout the AGM where we will invite questions. If you have questions as we go along, then feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll do the best to pick those up at the appropriate moment. As we are recording, if you want to use closed captions, then you should be able to enable that yourself. And so welcome to everybody. We've had apologies from Lawrence Fruin, who is the co-chair of the board with me, who is off on his holidays. And I should just introduce myself as well. So I'm Zoe Robinson, and I have the great delight of being co-chair of the board alongside my role at Eauc University. Okay, next slide, please, Fiona. Okay, alongside myself and the board and Charlotte, you can see our board members here. We have Lawrence, John, Louise, Sean, Aida, Ian, Joy and Jennifer, all representing different organisations, not all education institutions as well, so that we can draw from a real breadth of expertise. Next slide, please. And then we have our regional branch conveners as well. So we have Sarah, who is the branch convener for Ireland. We've got Billy, the convener for Scotland, and we have Neil, who is the Wales convener, as well as taking on the mantle as treasurer for the EAUC. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the agenda that we will be going through is we'll start off with approval of the minutes from last year's AGM, for those who can remember that far back. Then we'll look at the sad moment of retiring of one of our board members, look at the appointment of our auditors. Then I'll be passing over to Charlotte for a look at the new strategy and review of the past year, and to Neil to look at a financial overview of the last year. Then we come to the exciting part where we present the results of the election of a new board member, and then we'll finish off with any general Q&A as well. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of approval of the minutes, we will be giving an update on various activities that were covered in the 2024 AGM minutes. We don't have any other outstanding issues, and there aren't any matters arising. So if we do not have any comments or corrections from the minutes from last year, and we haven't received any, then we will formally agree the minutes and we can move on to the next part of the agenda, which is, as I say, the very sad moment where we officially wave goodbye to one of our trustees, Lawrence Fruin, who has come to the end of his maximum term. And Lawrence, for the past couple of years, has also been a co-chair as well for the board. And personally, I would just like to thank him in his absence for being such a great person to work with. And as a board, to thank him for his time, commitment, his wisdom, and his insights throughout his time on the board. So next slide, please. Okay, next agenda item is where we formally announce the appointment of auditors. And we are continuing to work with JW Hinks as our auditors. but rest assured that we do review regularly the market to ensure that we are getting value for money through that service. Okay, and that is the end of that part, and I hand over to Charlotte to present the new strategy, well, newish, and to talk through the last year's activity.
It's like when you start a new job, isn't it? You're not quite sure how long you can call it your new job. I'm not quite sure how long we shall call this a new strategy, considering we launched it just over a year ago at our 2024 conference in Winchester. Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to see so many familiar faces and names on the screen, as well as some new ones for me. So good to meet you. For those of you that I haven't met before, my name's Charlotte Bonner, and I have the privilege and the pleasure of being CEO at Eauc. And my role in today's AGM is to take you through our annual impact report, reflecting on the past year, and sharing how our 2024 to 2030 strategy is unfolding. And this strategy is all about accelerating our ambition and our impact, so recognising the solid foundations upon which Eauc and its community has been built, but really thinking about how we push further and faster whilst navigating really turbulent times, both within institutions and geopolitically as well, so that we're acting in line with the science, because we know we can commiserate with the science when it comes to climate, when it comes to biodiversity, but also so we're stepping up when it comes to the social challenges that we face too. Next slide, please, Fiona. So our vision remains clear. We're seeking a post-16 education system that creates a world with sustainability at its heart. And as an organisation, as a membership organisation, we exist to lead and empower and support the post-16 education sector to embed sustainability in everything that it does. So we really promote holistic, whole organisation approaches where leadership and governance, estates and operations, teaching and learning, research, collaborations are all actively driving sustainability, so that fundamentally we're equipping learners for their lives, we're acting like responsible organisations, and we're shaping society for the better. And we do that by supporting our members, largely many people in this call, to create meaningful sustainability change. We convene our network to generate solutions to shared challenges. And increasingly, we're creating systems change to establish a more enabling environment for sustainability action. And in a year that was marked by really increasing financial pressures, political uncertainty, operational turbulence across education, this vision, I think, really anchors us, and it reminds us of why our work matters. Next slide, please, Fiona. So first and foremost, as an organisation, we're values-led. These underpin everything that we do. And you can see them on the screen. I'm not going to read to you, but collaborative, really fostering communities and connections, acting with integrity and sharing not just successes, but lessons learnt, which is something that we'll cover later on today. We strive to be ambitious, to be inclusive, and to be empowering, so building capacity in our members and in ourselves as an organisation. And I'm committed to make sure these aren't just words, right? These shape how we show up as a team, how we partner with others, and how we support you, our members, and our stakeholders. Next slide, please, Fiona. So the strategy commits us to 4 key goals. By 2030, we want to make sure that all of our members are achieving their ambitious sustainability goals. So I think there's 2 elements to this. One is the ambition, making sure that that's right, and the other is achievement, making sure that our members have what they need to achieve those goals. We want to ensure that all post-16 education organisations are engaged in sustainability work. We want to make sure that we have and that we provide unparalleled expertise on sustainability in post-16 education. And we want to make sure that the systems and frameworks that shape post-16 education promote and embed sustainability action. So this work is business as usual rather than an add-on. And as I said, it's a strategy that's built on strong foundations, but it really calls for scale and pace and impact beyond what we've delivered before. Next slide, please, Fiona. And to achieve those goals, we're really working on strengthening our internal organisational structures and ways of working. So this includes things like putting social justice and equity, diversity and inclusion at the centre of what we do. operating with a 5 nations approach, so making sure we're serving our colleagues and our members in Wales, in Northern Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, in Scotland and in England well. That we operate as a high-performing and high well-being team where people are happy and healthy in their work, but providing really high-quality work that supports our goals. Investing in digital. I've told a lot of people recently, our website is 18 years old, which if there was an Antiques Roadshow for websites, I think we would be on it. So we're really investing heavily in our digital estate at the moment, and there's lots to come on that front in the coming months. And of course, ensuring financial sustainability and exemplar sustainable practices as well. So these are the enablers, right, across our people, across our practices, across our partnerships. These are partnerships. These are the enablers that will help us deliver with confidence and credibility and help us achieve those strategic goals that I just introduced. Next slide, please, Fiona. So 2024-25, the academic year, marked our 20th anniversary, and it was a really lovely moment to celebrate progress, to honour our founders. That's what you can see on your screen, was our Friends and Founders dinner back in September, and to reflect on 2 decades of work. And as the concept of Sankofa, I don't know whether you're familiar with Sankofa, it's a Ghanaian concept, but it teaches us that we look back not just to dwell, but to move forward with greater wisdom. And that's what we've been trying to do with the work that we've done this year, is to celebrate, to recognise our history, but also to look at lessons learned and what we now know that we didn't back in 2004 to help guide what comes next. Next slide, please, Fiona. So I'm really proud of this publication, which we published this month, which shares that first year of activity and progress and impact towards this new strategy. And a big thank you to the team for putting it together, to the people who were kind enough to be showcased as case studies within it, as well as to our wider membership and stakeholder base, because fundamentally this isn't about the work of the 17 people that work at EAUC, this is about our collective work as a community. But I'm just going to share with you a couple of highlights from the annual report to reflect on our activity in 2024. Next slide, please. So our year in numbers shows the scale of what we're delivering, and I think what's good about this is that each number represents kind of some real action, some real connection, and some real progress. And when EAUC was founded, it was a relatively small community of primarily environmental managers or people that played a role in that sphere, in colleges and in universities. And now when I look, we have a growing community of nearly 10,000. Yes, sustainability practitioners, although we all know that the remit of sustainability has grown over the last 2 decades. Academics, leaders from across the post-16 education sector. So our community really is growing. Next slide, please. So I'll just take a quick snapshot of each goal. So over the last year, we've continued to deliver a wide range of learning and development opportunities for professionals across our sector. And the programmes are designed to give people amongst our membership kind of knowledge, skills and tools that are needed to implement positive and effective sustainability practices. So here, when we think about supporting members to achieve ambitious sustainability goals, we trained 30 sector leaders through the Leadership Lab, helping them develop their leadership skills. We've supported over 200 professionals to gain carbon literacy, so kind of that core knowledge of some of the key concepts of sustainability. We've delivered embedding ESD training, which is specifically for educators in the FE sector, in partnership with the Education and Training Foundation. And we've convened 80 communities of practice and regional meetings. So this is capacity building in action. This is about equipping people with the skills and the networks that they need to drive change. Next slide, please. And as one participant shared, this is the ripple effect we're looking for. Individuals empowered to create change for themselves, within their teams, within their organisations, within their communities. Next slide, please, Fiona. So moving on to our second goal, over the past year, we've worked to ensure that we reach as many people and as many organisations as possible across the breadth and diversity of the post-16 education sector, regardless of where organisations are in their sustainability journey. So again, just thinking about that change in scope over time. When EAUC was founded, it was very much for universities and colleges, and now we're delighted to have adult education services in our membership, and increasing numbers of independent training providers as well. So really thinking about that diversity of the post-16 education sector. In 2024, alongside the University of Reading, funded by the Department for Education, and with 13 other partner organisations, we launched the Climate Ambassadors Programme, which supported in 2024 1,142 education settings from across the education system to develop and deliver meaningful climate action plans. We welcomed 24 new educational members. We maintained a 93% member renewal rate, which particularly in the current financial landscape in HE, we're really proud of. And as I said earlier, nearly 10,000 people accessed and benefited from their EAUC membership. So these numbers reflect that kind of growing reach and that deeper engagement. Next slide, please, Fiona. So we use our sector reach and our insights to ensure our work is evidence informed and that we're creating impactful resources, and that we share data which helps our members and our stakeholders, our partners, further promote and embed sustainability in their work. So this goal is all about equipping the sector with practical data-led tools and insights to help them drive sustainability. So we're really proud of being part of the management team for the Concordat for the Environmental Sustainability of Research and Innovation Practice. We continue to share trends and case studies through reports relating to initiatives such as the Sustainability Leadership Scorecard and the SDG Accord. We've completed 12 consultancy projects through our partnerships with Sons Consulting. And you can see on the right-hand side of the slide here a number of new resources and insights that have been published to really help our members drive their sustainability work, spanning estates and operations issues, spanning funding, spanning teaching and learning practices as well. Next slide, please, Fiona. So onto our fourth strategic goal, and I think EAUC has long recognised, since way before my tenure with the organisation, the need for systems change. But as part of our new strategy, we've really articulated how we're working to lead that systems change, to lead the shift that's needed. So working with sector influencers to ensure sustainability action is enabled, it's embedded, it's promoted through the agencies, the systems, the frameworks that shape our kind of business as usual. Because we know that sustainability can't be an add-on and instead should be a core principle which drives policy and funding and regulation and accountability. So this year we've really been laying the groundwork for a lot of this systems change work, a lot of the policy and advocacy work that we intend to do in future. But despite it being kind of a lay the foundations year, we've done and seen some great changes. So we've secured sustainability in the subject benchmark statements, the latest revisions thereof, and the UK Quality Code for HE. So some really big step changes there in terms of the way that sustainability is articulated and woven throughout those kind of really critical frameworks. We brought together a number of professional, statutory and regulatory bodies to advocate for sustainability to be better embedded in professional standards and accreditation frameworks through a symposium at Windsor Castle, which we delivered in partnership with SOS UK, funded by 3 of our members. We've submitted various evidence-led consultations to influence policy and funding in the ever-changing landscape that we find ourselves working in. And we've contributed to Scottish Government statutory climate guidance as well. So this systems work is really essential, and I think it creates the kind of enabling environment for institutions to act, but also means we're kind of coming at the sector with pincers, right? We've got so much grassroots activity that we absolutely want to nurture and foster through our communities, but we're also kind of hardwiring that through the systems and frameworks piece too. I want to draw some attention to our EDI work as well. This remains central to our purpose. We know that social justice is a critical part of sustainability, not an aside to, but acts with and within sustainability. An organisation called Charity So White has highlighted institutional racism within the charity sector. Akivo's Home Truths reports spotlight just kind of the scale of the challenge. And whilst I think this is work that will be ongoing. I don't see an end to it, but we are absolutely committed to an ongoing programme of activity focused on both enhancing our own performance as an organisation and identifying opportunities to support our members' EDI work too. and particularly the join-up of EDI work and environmental sustainability work. So in 2024, we took a number of meaningful steps. We continued our participation in the race report. We introduced a code of conduct to ensure our events are welcoming and inclusive spaces, and we maintained our Level 1 disability confidence status. We've also sought to make our recruitment more equitable with an opt-in guaranteed interview scheme for disabled candidates and people of colour who meet essential criteria. We've trained mental health first aiders to better support wellbeing within our team, and we joined the Diverse Sustainability Initiative, recognising the importance of kind of broader collective action. And throughout our publications and our meetings, we've worked to ensure EDI isn't an afterthought but woven into the work that we do. And whilst these are important actions, and I'm proud of them, we know there's much more to do to ensure that the work that we do collectively is truly inclusive and just, and there's lots more in the pipeline in 2025. Next slide, please, Fiona. So it's always nice when you kind of take a step back to reflect on all the good things that have happened and all the activity and all the outputs of our work. But 2024 indeed brought its share of challenges too. So in December, the last working day before Christmas, no less, we experienced a targeted cyber attack, which is obviously something that no organisation wishes for and is increasingly common. The attack really tested our systems and our processes and our resilience, and we worked quickly and we worked in line with sector best practices. The ICO were happy with our response, and yet it still reminded us that, you know, we have a great responsibility because you trust us with your data and we rely on digital systems to do our work. So we had already invested in our digital projects. That was already at work underway, but it kind of reminded us that that work is so critical. Other challenges, as our activity grows, so too do our carbon emissions. So 2024 saw a modest rise, but again, it prompts us to be kind of vigilant in aligning kind of our organisational growth with our environmental commitments. I have no intention of the Eauc growing and growing and growing as an organisation. We want to make sure we're making targeted investments that helps us be more impactful. But when we make those investments, we need to look at how we balance that with our environmental impact too. And of course, in the wider sector, we know that pretty much everyone is feeling the strain, that there's that we have a responsibility to sustain momentum for sustainability amidst political turbulence, financial constraints, operational changes, organisational restructures, redundancies, and that work is tough and it can sometimes feel like pushing water uphill. But we know that our biggest strength is our community, and that every conversation and every connection is keeping the momentum for this really vital work alive. So we've also been reflecting on how to balance that need to drive momentum, the endless opportunities that we have with our capacity, and knowing when to say yes and when to say no, and how to prioritise for greatest impact. And this is something we're still working on as an organisation. We're thinking carefully about how can we press as few buttons to achieve as big a change as possible. And we're thinking very carefully about how we communicate with the various stakeholders that we have to ensure that we kind of amplify what matters most without adding to the noise, because I know that we all receive far too many communications about far too many things. So how do we make sure that you can access exactly what you want to access and when is something we're constantly refining. And finally, in terms of a challenge that we're facing, it's a nice problem to have, this one, but when you look back over our 20-year history, we hold such a wealth of data, of insights, of case studies. We know how to do a lot of the work we still need to do, but the challenge we have is how we share those meaningfully in ways that really empower and inspire our members and our partners to act. And again, our digital work is spending a lot of time kind of auditing and curating content to make sure that we can meaningfully share that wealth of data and insights. Next slide, please, Fiona. Last slide for me, please, Fiona. So looking ahead, I think there's much to feel energised and excited about. I get geekily excited about this work. I've mentioned a number of times our new digital estate that we're investing quite heavily in to create a seamless and accessible experience for those that come to us for insights and information, and to make sure that we are safeguarding the security of the data that we hold. We're deepening our policy work. We've invested in a new role within the team, our policy and research officer. Later this year, we're hosting roundtables in Wales, in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland to ensure our approach remains Five Nations focused in reality as well as intention. Our team's developing a professional development framework to support everyone working in sustainability roles, no matter where their entry point or their career stage. And we'll continue to share knowledge with new publications and resources that are in the making at the moment, as well as research that will explore, well, we're publishing next month, I believe, research that will explore the intersections between EDI and sustainability. And then later in the year, we'll be publishing a state of the sector baseline to guide our future priorities, which we'll share with you, of course, too. And woven through all of this is a commitment to continual improvement. So not just the new and shiny things, but kind of the bread and butter of what EAUC does. We want to make sure that we're doing the basics really, really well. And we know that we must keep learning and adapting and striving for excellence in that work to make sure we're of value to you. So that's it from me. There weren't any questions submitted in advance of the AGM, but if people have questions about what I've covered in terms of our activity or what's coming, there will be time for those later in the AGM. And for now, I will hand over to Neil, our Treasurer, who's going to take us through the annual accounts. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Okay, I think Fiona, good. Yeah, thanks. Next slide. So my name is Neil Glasser. I'm the Treasurer for EAUC. I'm going to talk a little bit about the income and expenditure. But we thought we'd start by just showing you this because in line with our vision and our aims, EAUC is committed to minimising and monitoring and reporting on its environmental impact, including, of course, our carbon footprint. So we thought we'd start by just showing you how we compared 2024 to 2023 in terms of carbon accounting. So in 2024, our total emissions actually rose slightly by 8% to 155 tonnes of CO2 equivalent. And the reason for that is primarily because of greater organisational activity. We have, including expanding our communication services. There's been a bit more domestic travel, and we also had a growth in staff. So we've grown our staff from just over 12 full-time equivalents to 13.25 full-time equivalents. And the sum of all that means that our carbon footprint has got larger. So one thing that is worth pointing out is that despite the overall rise, our average emissions per FTE has actually decreased compared to 2023. So we're now standing at about 11,678 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. Next slide, please. So then I thought we'd look at the actual accounts. And the good news is that the EAUC is very healthy, financially very healthy. Excuse me. We have an overall surplus of just over £150,000. And that's mostly an unrestricted surplus, which is about £153,000. And 23% of our overall income actually comes from restricted funds. So we've made that overall surplus about 150,000. Our membership income has increased from about £278,000 a year to £318,000, and that reflects a growth in membership. Something that we've just been asked to point out is that we haven't actually increased our membership fees. So we've also had more face-to-face events, and our annual income from conferences and leadership trainings also increased, so that's great. We also received funds from the Scottish Funding Council, from the Department for Education, and we've also received money from the Environment Agency. Okay, and we're on to the next slide, please. Oh, we've got it there, which is about projects. So this is a breakdown of our income sources, and that shows that about 19% comes from projects, 29% of our income comes from membership fees, and 31% comes from products and services, including things like the Green Gown Awards and our new income generation activities such as sustainability consulting. 13% comes from annual conferences and 8% comes from our training and events. And it's important to point out that we have a good mix of individual and a mixed income generation, so we're not dependent on one individual source. Then I'll talk about our expenditure sources, and that shows that 22% of our expenditure comes from projects, 29% of our expenditure goes on membership fees, 26% from products and services, including things like the Green Gown Awards, and then income generation activities such as consultancy, and 17% from conference and 6% from training and events. So the annual accounts looking to 2025, as part of that new strategy that Charlotte's very carefully outlined, we are investing in our reserves in people and in practices. We're investing in rationalising and modernising our digital estate. We want to ensure that we reduce our security vulnerability as well as improving the member experience. So we've expanded our team, as I pointed out earlier, higher FTEs, to include a policy and research officer, and that's in order to help us to achieve some of those goals that Charlotte outlined. We're also investing in staff learning and development, and we've got healthy reserves, which is great. It means we can invest in those people to give them the right skills and the right insights to deliver the strategy that Charlotte outlined. So that's a whistle-stop tour of our accounts, income and expenditure, and I will hand you back to Zoe.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Neil. The problem about doing these things online is that I'm not able to pass you a glass of water when it seems that you're in desperate need for one. Okay, so the next stage of the AGM then is coming to the results of the election of a new board member. So next slide, please, Fiona. So we do only have one resolution for this AGM. We had one retirement from the board, so we have one vacancy, and you should all be aware that over the past few weeks, educational member key contacts or their nominated representative have been busy voting online for this resolution. The voting is all undertaken by Civica, so as members you can be confident of the process that is followed. And voting took place up until the 30th of June. So you can see here a list of those who were up for the election of this position. And drum roll, please. I'm really pleased to announce that Melanie Lenihan, who is Principal and CEO of Faircroft College, has been elected by you, our members, onto the board. So congratulations to our new trustee. I look forward to working with you, Mel, along with the rest of the board. And I'd just really like to thank everybody who applied for the position on the board. Very grateful for you taking the time to do that, and for your interest and commitment to the EAUC. Okay, if we move on to the next slide then. So I'm not sure actually, Mel, if Mel might be online, and if so, might want to give us a wave, just to finalise that part of. I can't see. Anyway, we'll move on to the final thing, the point where if you do have any questions of myself, of Charlotte, of Neil, of anything that we have covered during this AGM, then now is your chance, either to put something in the chat or to raise your hand. So not seeing anything in the chat. I'll give a dramatic pause to give people time. Okay, well, I'm taking from that Charlotte and Neil have done a fantastic job of taking us through a year's worth of activity and our accounts. And so it just leaves me to, first of all, thank you all for your commitment to the EAUC. Charlotte said earlier, that our biggest strength is our community. And that's really shown by people, turning up today to support the organisation, and of course all of the outstanding impactful work that you all do. I would also once again just like to thank Lawrence Fruin as our outgoing trustee and co-chair, and for his 5 years of committed support and wisdom. So thank you to you all. And as we haven't received any notification of any other business, I can close this AGM for this year. Thank you all very much.